I'm in the mountains of Tokyo today. It's a Monday, and I'm making this video about how you and me and all of us are worthy of our calls to freedom. Yeah, if you've ever had a call to freedom and pushed it away, we're going to take a look at that behavior, because as I grow and as I really explore the sense of inner liberation more and more, again and again I realize that we are all deserving and able to access a freedom within us. But we get so easily caged by society in our own minds to think that this freedom is beyond us, or to think that freedom is something that is only acquired with time, skill, and money. And yes, all of those things, it's not mutually exclusive. You can be insanely talented and insanely rich and young, and yeah, you can have freedom, but it's not mutually exclusive. You can have none of those things and still have a sense of freedom. And so let's talk about it. This is I'm sorry, I'm like trying to climb these rocks as I'm talking. So let me get to a better spot. Ooh. Okay, so I'm in the mountains of Japan right now. It is a Monday, and I am making this video to remind you and to also affirm to myself that we are worthy of our call to freedom. And my YouTube channel has been through many chapters, but the thing that I've finally settled on is a channel dedicated to self-actualization and liberation. And I am on that journey for myself too. I have been on this journey for myself. This journey has led me to being in the middle of this forest alone. It's very beautiful. And talking about the mindset of freedom and how all of us can tap into it. We can all tap into the freedom that we inherently deserve. So ever since I was a young kid, and I think I'm going to stop walking right now. I think this is a good stop. This is a good stop. So, oh my God, look at this foliage. It's so pretty. Okay. So ever since I was a kid, I have always been seeking this idea of freedom. Even as an elementary schooler, middle schooler, and middle school was the first time I ever came to Japan as a cultural exchange student. But even then, that little kid me who barely had any responsibilities, didn't have to work, wasn't really an adult by any means of the word, I had this gigantic urge for freedom across my life. And as I grew up and went through college and started working and became an adult, this desire towards freedom remained with me. I was sitting in the car, I think I was in high school, I was sitting in the car, and my friend was telling me a story about how his friend, who was a software engineer, left his job one day and just moved to Japan. And the younger me at that time, I just sat there listening to that story and thinking how wild that experience seemed. Like, to me at that time, I wondered, is that freedom? And it seemed so beyond me that someone could just pick up and do that. And at that time, it seemed like such a crazy concept to me. But recently, having gone through a similar transition in my own life, so I decided to leave my corporate track in digital marketing, growth marketing, which is a path I've been on for 4 years. And before that, I studied economics at UCLA. I left that corporate life and I came to Japan, not permanently, but I came to Japan. And this experience made me remember that story that I had heard when I was in high school, and being so intrigued by this software engineer who left his job and moved to Japan. And what it made me realize once again, is that if we actually give ourselves permission to experience the freedom that is inherently within us and that we can access, if we give ourselves the permission to actually experience that, it can change your perspective so much. It's life-changing. And I'm making this video because I want you watching this to experience that as well. It's truly one of the most eye-opening, mind-blowing experiences that we can have in this complex globe as a human being. It's also kind of why I've dedicated my channel recently to this kind of topic, because I think in the modern world, we tend to feel so separated from the internal freedom and liberation that gets buried. But once you tap into it, it's such an eye-opening and life-affirming experience. And sometimes the freedom is not even life-changing. Like, think back to a day, like a Sunday afternoon, where you experience this sense of unbound freedom. Maybe doing a hobby you love, or anything really, just little moments of freedom. And it doesn't even have to be a life-changing experience, but something in your brain just clicks a little differently. At any age, you can experience this inner feeling of freedom. And we don't need money, truly, to experience freedom. Remember that we can be and experience anything that we want in this lifetime. Age is not a limit. Money can be a limit at first or at some points, but ultimately it's not really a limit either. Freedom, it's all about your belief. It all comes back to your mindset and your perspective and the degree to which you're able to step out of the shoulds that you put on yourself and that society is so good at putting on us. It's ingrained in us, but it all comes back to your belief and your perspective. Freedom is not something for some people and not for others, although it's easy for us to believe that. And one other analogy, and actually my friend found this when she was going through a breakup a while back, is this story of a baby elephant. Elephants are huge, right? Elephants are powerful. A baby elephant is chained to a pole as a baby. And with that mass, the baby could never go beyond the chain that was chaining it to the pole. It had a certain radius that it couldn't venture beyond. But the interesting thing is that as the baby elephant grew and became a full-sized elephant, it never left this radius. Because the baby elephant was trained, and its belief and perspective of the world and its ability to freely move stuck with it from the time that it was a baby to the time when it was adult. And we all know that an adult elephant can obviously break through the chain and probably break down the entire pole and go wherever the F it wants, really. But this is a powerful analogy. And this is the idea of freedom that I want to talk to you about today, because it really is all about our beliefs and our perspective. And freedom can be the simplest things. I mean, I'm on this random mountain. I just thought it would be a pretty place to film. It's not really tied to freedom. Like, I experience freedom in a lot of ways in my own life. Being the person I want to be, expressing how I want to express, loving the way I want to love, doing the career, creating a life that I actually love, all of these things. There's so many small and bigger instances of freedom, but that's because ever since I was a kid, I've desired freedom so much. And so I've always evaluated freedom from so many angles until I came to the point in my adulthood where I realized freedom is within us, and it's not something for some people and not for others. Freedom is something that you can believe that you deserve and are worthy of. And I believe that all of us are worthy of this sort of freedom. And I do think the world is going to evolve towards more freedom, hopefully. Hopefully. But the beautiful thing about this belief of freedom is that when you realize you can tap into it too, however that may look like, it's from that place that you begin to create a life that you actually love. It is from the point and perspective of freedom that we become the best, most self-actualized and liberated versions of ourselves. And I know that I talk about these kind of more abstract spiritual topics on my channel recently. Hopefully, if you're watching this, you are someone who vibes with this kind of content. And if not, click off. But I do think as we go on in this world and as our soul matures, there is a fundamental yearning for freedom that we all have within us. And so I think it's unfortunate if we subscribe to the belief that freedom is just for some others with money or status or the power of time behind them, because it's not true. It's not true. I just wanted to show you guys this, this is so pretty. You are worthy of your freedom, and freedom looks like different things for different people because we all value different things. And that was a gift that was given to us by God or the universe or whatever you believe in. It is by honoring that gift that we unfold the more miraculous experiences in life, and that we allow ourselves to perceive the world in even just a slightly different way. That is where inner change and growth and transformation comes from. It is from that place, even of the littlest freedoms. I guess I've never talked about the definition of freedom or liberation on this channel, but freedom is basically the power to act, think, or speak as you want. And liberation is freeing yourself from constraints on thoughts or behaviors. And of course, I think responsibility is a beautiful thing. And there is a certain aspect of responsibility, and it is an enriching experience for all of us universally as well. Again, I'm all about balance on this channel. I'm talking about freedom in a way that doesn't deny our responsibilities. But most of us in this current time and age, with these digital devices that have a plethora of everything in them, I find that we tend to go more towards the side of responsibility and constraints and push away calls to freedom or our pursuit of our own inner freedom. We have so many responsibilities, I'm not going to deny that. And that's a beautiful thing too, because in our responsibilities, we ground ourselves and we build something lasting and foundational for ourselves. And that's so important to self-esteem and self-love. But it doesn't mean that you can't experience freedom as well. You can be responsible and free. That's just a choice that you have to make for you. It all comes down to a choice that we have to make for ourselves. And I realized, and partly why I'm making this video today, is that I realized I'm always happier. I'm always more tuned into the real experience of what my life truly is. Like in the most basic way, what this experience of life truly is. When I choose my freedom. When I choose my freedom, and I believe I actually get to be worthy of my freedom. It's not more complicated than that. We get so used to living with so many shoulds in our own head. I mean, when was the last time you thought the word should in your head? I used to think it all the time. I should do this. I should not do this. I should be this person. I should not be this person. This is bad. This is good. All of these shoulds. The thing that we cage ourselves in the most is in our own minds. And it is when we overcome these shoulds that we have on ourselves, like I should be still in my marketing job, even though that wasn't what was bringing me joy and a sense of purpose. I should be a more fitting into Japanese society better by not vlogging in this forest, even speaking English. Like I feel weird speaking English in Japanese, and that's the should in my head of you should fit in, you should follow the majority. But this right now is a sense of freedom for me. Just like the younger me hearing that story of the software engineer who moved to Japan, I wondered, is that freedom? And yeah, that is freedom. That is following the call of your heart and not limiting yourself with all the shoulds that we have in our head. But that doesn't have to be the only way of freedom. Freedom doesn't even have to be an extreme thing. It can be the littlest things. Wearing what you want, saying what you want, being the person that you genuinely feel like you can stand behind being, because that's your authentic self. What is your freedom calling you to do? And what's one little way that you can lean into that and honor that a little more? Because Rome wasn't built in a day. You don't go from being caged to completely free overnight. It's the taking the little steps, listening to the little sparks that push you towards freedom. That is how you become freer and freer and freer. And also, once you are truly free, you never forget that freedom. And you never, I don't know, it's kind of trippy, honestly, but I think that's why freedom's such a big theme of the human experience, and that's why it's something that we fight wars over. And I also think it's something that we're inherently, at a base level, drawn to.